Russia's announcement of a ban on crude oil exports for nations enforcing the G7 price cap this week may encourage more shipments to India. President Vladimir Putin reportedly said earlier this week that Russia would stop selling crude to any buyer, who included a price cap clause in the contract, according to the Economic Times, which cited Indian business executives. On February 1st, the decree will go into effect and cover oil products as well. Putin, however, added that exceptions could be made in special cases. In this video, we will discuss Putin's insane oil partnership with India will end all US and European Union sanctions. But before that, please like, subscribe, and click the bell button for the latest economic updates. Now let's get started. The United States, other nations, and international organizations joining them have been accused of taking hostile and illegal actions, and Russia's opposition to the price cap has been seen as a response to these actions. The G7 decided to set a price cap on Russian oil exports earlier this year in an effort to reduce Moscow's oil revenues without compromising the world's oil supply. Since the US and the UK had already imposed bans on Russian oil and fuel, China and India played a crucial role in the success of the caps. Imports. The EU joined earlier this month when it imposed a ban on the maritime import of Russian crude oil. However, China and India have stated they would prefer to continue doing business with Russia, especially given that they are currently taking advantage of the significant discount that Russian crude is currently selling at after the European market essentially disappeared from its list of clients with the cap. Japan received an exemption from the cap because Russian oil supplies are essential to the country's economy and difficult to replace. Russia may have some oil volumes in excess. The best course of action would be to give them to China and India. Until December 26, Hellenic Shipping News reported that Russia had become one of India's major oil suppliers this year. 40% of the grade's total monthly loadings from Russian ports, or 3.5 million tons, were loaded into Asia via Europe, including 2.4 million tons for India. However, this number may increase this year. According to calculations by Reuters and Traders Refinitiv data, India's oil imports from Russia are on track to set a record in December, even though weaker Asian demand and the EU oil embargo have reduced overall volumes. Last month, at the Conference of the Curtains for India Energy Week 2023, Indian authorities made it clear that the domestic market and its needs would drive oil inputs with an eye toward controlling inflation. We used to buy very limited quantities of oil from Russia up until March 31, 2020, about 0.2%. But now Russia has become a prominent supplier alongside the UAE and Saudi Arabia, according to Union Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri. He said that India, which was previously sourcing crude from 29 countries, is now sourcing oil from 39 countries and is prepared to buy from anywhere. Kuwait and Iraq. The minister claimed that following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, the G7 set a price cap of $60 for Russian oil. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February, Moscow has also contacted New Delhi to explore opportunities for trade in at least 500 different goods, including components for cars, airplanes, and trains. For some deals this month, India has replaced other countries as the primary market for seaborne cargoes of European crude. The price for European crude in Indian ports, including insurance and ship delivery, has decreased to between $12 and $15 per barrel, compared to the monthly average for dated brands, down from a discount of between $5 and $8 and $10 to $11 per barrel in October and November, respectively. According to the sources, the discounts indicate that oil is sometimes sold at a price below the total cost of production, including local taxes. Business sources reported the cost of shipping drives up the pressure on producers, who are already under pressure in Russia's western ports due to a lack of vessels suitable for the country's winter climate. Depending on the terms of the deals reached, the seller may be responsible for paying the freight costs. Compared to the previous month of February, when freight rates were less than $3 per barrel, they are now between $11 and $19 per barrel, or roughly twice as much. According to calculations by Reuters, discounts for Ural soil at Russia's western ports for sale to India under some deals have increased to $32 to $35 per barrel when freight is not included in the price. Early in December, the value of the dated Brent benchmark was below $80 per barrel, while the estimated cost of Russian oil for producers, including extraction tax and transport costs to export ports, stood at around $15 to $45 per barrel. Pavel Sorokin, Deputy Energy Minister, claimed last year that Russian oil suppliers were attempting to handle the transport of European oil to India themselves using their own ships and shipping partners in an effort to cut costs. However, a lot of oil producers still rely on trading companies, which means they must split any profits they make, according to traders. India, the second largest oil consumer in Asia, is better situated to purchase euros than China due to a shorter transportation route, the suitability of its refineries for processing Russian oil, the recognition of Russian ships by New Delhi, and insurance coverage from Russian entities that are no longer recognized in Europe. In November, the amount of euros supplied to India increased to at least 3.7 million tons and reached a record 53.2% of all grades loaded via seaports. According to definitive Icon data, Russia replaced Iraq as India's top oil supplier in November. Data from commercial sources revealed that there are plenty of euros on the market. A sizable number of traders are offering cargo in euros for both December and January delivery. According to a source with an Indian refiner, none of the sources could be identified because they weren't permitted to speak to the press. Russian crude oil has been trading at significant discounts since shortly after Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, when many Western buyers avoided it. The discount has grown since December 5th, when most European refiners were prohibited from purchasing Russian crude by sea on that day due to the price cap. Compared to Brent crude, the global benchmark, which trades at $82 a barrel, the main oil grade shipped from Russia's western ports, is trading at about $42 to $45 a barrel. According to preliminary data from price reporting agency Argus, Russia's seaborne crude exports have decreased since the price cap began 11 days ago, according to Kepler and Argus. In the first week following the price cap, according to CLER analyst Matthew Wright, things dipped a little, and in the second, they appear to have quieted down considerably. The world's largest independent oil trader, Vitol, predicted in November that if it had trouble accessing enough tankers, Russian seaborne exports could drop by as much as 1 million barrels per day, or about a fifth. However, it is still too early to draw any firm conclusions about the medium-term effect. Affordable Russian oil and gas energy markets around the world have experienced significant volatility due to the conflict in Ukraine, sending prices soaring as European nations struggle to wean themselves off of cheap Russian oil and gas. Deliveries of Russian oil and oil products to foreign entities and people are prohibited under the condition that the decree specifically mentions the United States and other nations that have implemented the price cap. The decree was published on a government portal, and the Kremlin website is a direct response to actions that are unfriendly and contrary to international law by the United States and other states and international organizations joining them. Putin may override the ban in certain circumstances under the decree, which contains a provision to that effect. Crude oil exports will be prohibited starting on February 1st, but the Russian government will decide when the ban on oil products will take effect, and it may happen later. The price cap, which was unheard of even during the Cold War between the West and the Soviet Union, is intended to damage Russian state coffers and Moscow's military operations in Ukraine. According to some analysts, the cap won't significantly affect Moscow's oil revenues in the short term. The G7 price cap permits non-EU countries to continue importing seaborne Russian crude oil, but it will prohibit shipping insurance and reinsurance companies from handling cargoes of Russian crude around the world unless it is being sold for less than the price cap. Russia has been promising to respond to the cap for weeks, and the eventual decree largely established what officials had already stated publicly. What do you think about Russia? Let us know in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, make sure to hit the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update from us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you at the next one. Until then, peace.